Welcome to another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and NFL defensive back, and I'm excited, man. We are back for a lot of 49er football is coming down to nitty gritty. So today we are breaking down the 53-man roster, but only in the important camp battles or training camp battles or roster battles. Obviously, that ties into the quarterback position, receiver position. You got some cornerbacks. Who's going to make it? Who's not? We're kind of projecting here. It's an important preseason game coming up, and we're going to dive into all that and more. I hope everybody's having a great and blessed morning. I'm excited to talk to everybody, and hope y'all woke up on the right side of the bed, got your workouts in, feeling good, drink some water. All right. And yeah, make sure everybody's mental is right. So I see Gammon in the chat. Shout out to my guy, Gammon, everydayer, Gammon with the 5 flames coming in. Raphael with the 5 flames coming in. Again, for those of you who are new, this show is powered and sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. And when you use the promo code Crocky, that's Crocky, CROCKY, they'll double your deposit up to $100. So Underdog Fantasy is getting going right now. I just made a little money off Underdog. And while we're at it, I might as well kind of talk about what I just put in today. They got the week 1 odds up right now, or player props up right now. And let me see what I got here going. All right. So I'll show you. I kind of like some of these numbers that they have. All right. So Christian McCaffrey, higher or lower on 63 rushing yards. I'm taking that. George Kittle, 42 and a half receiving yards. I'm taking that. Debo Samuel, 47 and a half receiving yards. I'm taking that. All right, so you could do all that and more right there. Y'all see it on the screen. If you're listening to the live audio, you can't see it, but you can see it if you download the app and use promo code Crocky. All right, there it goes right there. Let's get paid. Okay. There's a lot going on right now. I know the quarterback position has kind of overshadowed, just different battles. All right, so we're gonna start in kind of some different areas here. All right, I want to start with the the tight end position. All right, I think everybody knows George Kittle. Of course, he's going to be there. I assume Charlie Warner is going to be there. And if you look at the 49ers and how they kind of play some guys, you see the Charlie Warners in there. You see the Ross Dwelly's in there. I know a lot of people are like, Ross Dwelly, like, how's he going to continue to make it? But for all of the ups and downs that we've seen from Cam Latu, and a lot of downs, right? Especially like just you hear the reports with just drops. Then you watch him in the game and he fumbles, and then he's had his issues. Felt like he kind of came on strong last game. I think he did. He did pretty good. He caught a few passes. There was a really nice clutch catch, kind of going towards the sideline, all hands. Obviously, he had the touchdown where he ended up getting hit. He had to focus on that ball because the ball kind of got tipped at the line of scrimmage on the touchdown ball, and it kind of started to flutter in the air. He pulled that down. So you look at Cam, and I think right now, at least at the tight end position, it's Cam Latu, and it is Braden Willis. All right. The battle is between those two guys. Now, Ross Dwelly, he might have something to do with it. Ross is a guy who I feel like continues to kind of find himself just on the roster. So I don't know if we should punch him in by default. Do you guys think that there's a chance that they let Ross Dwelly go and they keep Cam Latu and they keep Braden Willis? If I had to guess right now, and I like Braden Willis, man, I watched him warm up. I watched him during training camp, and just the way he moves, I'm like, man, this is a fluid guy. Damn near looks like a receiver out there. Okay. Probably could, continue to improve as a pass protector or run blocker. But overall, I'm seeing him, kind of having strides in the right direction. But for the 49ers, I feel like the tight end position is one of the more wide open positions after George Kittle. But it feels like they just like guys. Like they like Charlie Warner. They just like Ross Dwelly. They probably do something. I know Ross Dwelly has some versatility there. When you kind of go back and look at when Kyle Juszczyk has been out, who fills in for Kyle Juszczyk? Oh, I don't know. Ross Dwelly, right, at the fullback position. So Ross is kind of versatile, and I think that's why they might keep him around. Charlie Warner, they've really shown that they really like to have him on the roster. I don't think they're going to keep 5 tight ends. So I think if I had to guess right now, Cam Latu makes it. Braden Willis gets let go. And I think they try to bring back Braden Willis on the practice squad. We got Gammon in the chat. He says, in the case of the two, does one good outing in preseason game wash away the many poor performances? That's a great question. And I don't think it's so much one good outing in the preseason. I think it's more so about one good outing and where you're drafted. Like the roster politics stuff is real. So unless somebody does something that really stands out to unseat a player, like let's say Ronnie Bell, and we'll get to the receiver position in a minute, but Ronnie Bell has done a lot to where it's like, I'm making plays, I'm standing out. So if there is a guy under him that's kind of slacking a little bit, or maybe not taking the best advantage of an opportunity, Ronnie Bell is like, well, I'm going to take advantage of this, and like that's something where we talk about Danny Gray. I think he's kind of on a hot seat. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But no, the answer is no, but somebody has to take it from him. And I don't think anybody's doing that. All right, I don't think anybody's doing that. I started to kind of go over the receiver position. So let's kind of talk about some of these guys, because I think that there are some intriguing battles going on there. It starts with, obviously we know kind of three guys that are for sure going to be locks. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. Like, they're locks. Outside of that, you got some injuries now that kind of make things a little fuzzy. Ray McLeod is going to miss the first 4 weeks or so of the season. That's tough. So that kind of opens up a spot, because otherwise he'd be a lock, I would assume, as long as he continues to do his thing as a return guy. He's not making like a ton of money. But Ray McLeod, he's starting the season on some kind of injured list, whether it's a pup or however they want to do it. All right. Danny Gray, he got hurt. I think that kind of saved Danny Gray. I think Danny Gray getting hurt saved him. So now it kind of comes down to, okay, outside of Juwan Jennings, who are the guys? And when you look at the 49ers roster right now at the receiver position, I'll list off some of these guys. All right. So again, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, hurt. All right. Danny Gray, hurt. All right. Chris Conley, Tay Martin, Willie Snead, Ronnie Bell, Daz Newsome, Isaiah Winstead. All right. Those guys, realistically, who has an opportunity? And I think this. Chris Conley is going to be kind of tough, because you got to understand, like, okay, what is Chris Conley's greatest value or asset to this team? And it's like, you watch him, and it's like, man, this is a legit receiver. He has throughout his career kind of been more of a, like, he can stretch the field. Is he going to be a high target volume guy? Not so much, but he could do some things really good. And while watching him, I'd say one thing that he's been is very steady. All right, where he's catching slants, where he's catching post, deep and breaking routes, passes up the seam. He's had some contested catches. He's done a lot of really good things. So when I look at him, I'm like, man, that's great. But what is their incentive for keeping you around? And I would say that's what he's probably continuing to kind of work on. So I think I look at Chris Conley right now, and I'm going to actually say that he's going to make the initial 53 roster. The tough thing with veterans is their contract is guaranteed for the entire year if you have him on your initial 53-man roster. So I still think he'll make it, but by default, because of the injuries, but then his contract becomes guaranteed. So if they do waive him and Snead and then try to bring one of the two back, I wouldn't at all be surprised. But the other guy is Ronnie Bell. So like right now, I have the 49ers only keeping 5 guys on their initial 53-man roster. Now, another guy can kind of sneak in there, and that might be Danny Gray, depending on the extent of his injury. But I have it right now. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ronnie Bell, and Chris Conley. When I look at Ronnie Bell, I talk about taking advantage of opportunities. I'm not going to get like uberly excited about kind of what, the having over 100 yards in the preseason game or anything like that. But the opportunities presented himself as a return guy, and he's done well doing that. All right, you watched the last outing, had a kickoff return, 25 yards. He had a punt return, 28 yards. That's exceptional. In the first preseason game, he was the first guy back there on kickoff and punt returns. And there was one defensive back that could kind of maybe potentially unseat him, and that's Deshaun Jameson. But Jameson kind of dropped the ball, like literally dropped the ball. And when you're in a battle that's really tight like that, which I think when I just watch Jameson move, he's probably like the most natural, fluid, best feel for returning. When you couple Ronnie Bell's return ability with what he's done as a pass catcher, I think that makes him make this roster. So I think even if it weren't for the injuries, he would make it. It would just kick other guys out. So whether it's kicking out Ray McLeod, probably wasn't going to be him. I think it would be Danny Gray. I think if Ray McLeod was healthy and Danny Gray was out there and he's healthy, and Ronnie Bell just does what he's been doing, I think Ronnie Bell would be the one guy out. So y'all can kind of give me your thoughts on that. But Danny Gray, did I say Ronnie Bell would be the guy out? I think Ronnie Bell would make it. Danny Gray would be the one guy out. All right, some other battles that I kind of found a little intriguing are the cornerback position. I only have 5 guys making it. All right, so that's Travarius Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack, and Isaiah Oliver. And I actually have Isaiah Oliver last, listed last, because I think that's where he's at right now. He's in a tough spot because out of the other guys that are kind of ahead of him outside of Ambry Thomas, but you got Deommodore Lenoir. He can play outside, he can play inside. And I'm curious to see if the 49ers do what like the Broncos did with Chris Harris, right? What did the Broncos do with Chris Harris Jr.? It's like, hey, in base defense, you're going to play outside. In sub packages, you're going to play inside. And then we're going to bring in someone, I think it was like Roby, right? They bring in Roby to play on the outside. So I think the 49ers could do that. That's not what they did in the preseason game. They just had Deommodore Lenoir playing the slot, and then they had Ambry Thomas playing on the outside. Will that hold true? I'm not sure. But I do know one thing. It's not great for Isaiah Oliver. So you look at Isaiah Oliver, and he's kind of in a tough situation there. As a guy that is probably only going to play nickel. Now, he started his career as an outside guy. When he was in college at Colorado, he was an outside guy. So I don't doubt that he can play outside. I thought nickel was kind of interesting for a guy of his stature. But, hey, he played well last year. People thought that he'd be better than Jimmy Ward at it. I don't know about that. But, the nickel is a tough position. You got a lot of space. You got two-way goals. Like, it's tough. I don't know if Isaiah Oliver is made for that. We'll see. We'll see. But right now, I do know one thing. I really like Deommodore Lenoir there. I think he's tailor-made to play in the slot. He's also shown that he has outside versatility. So I like it. The one guy that I think would have been really primed for this role is probably Emmanuel Mosley. And obviously, the 49ers let him go. He went over to the Detroit Lions. I haven't seen him yet play, so I'm assuming, still kind of recovering from his injury. They're probably trying to take it easy a little bit. But I kind of miss Emmanuel Mosley. All right, here's one last battle before I get to the quarterbacks and kind of where I feel they are. But you got the linebackers. All right, I got Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Oren Burks, because, again, special teams value. And then after that, it starts to get a little tricky. All right. Do you keep guys that have been there and done well? All right, you got Flanagan Fowles. He's been pretty good. Okay, you have Curtis Robinson. He's out there. You got Marcelino McCrary Ball, and a lot of people expect him to make it. But I only see the 49ers keeping 5 linebackers, and that's even a decent amount there. Again, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. Then you have Oren Burks, who's going to kind of make it by default. But outside of that, I think they go young here. And when I say young, I'm going D. Winters and Jalen Graham. I have been pleasantly surprised by Jalen Graham. And I need to watch him and watch Graham maybe a little bit closer and see maybe are there some things that he's doing or not doing. But when you just kind of watch the games, he's flashing, right? Where he's slicing in there, disengaging from blocks. The pursuit is there. And I'm surprised with how they're utilizing him. When I was watching him in college, he looked like a Al-Shire, right? Like that 4-3 strong side backer, a guy that you play more kind of closer to the line of scrimmage. But man, he's been playing kind of a middle linebacker spot off ball. He's looked terrific. He's not even in there. He's making tackles, sideline to sideline. He's very active. D. Winters, you see him doing some things, and I'm like, man, these guys are really talented. And it's not like you have to play them right away. You still give them time to kind of get acclimated to the NFL game. But you got Fred Warner, you got Dre Greenlaw, you got Oren Burks. Those are going to be your starting three guys. But Graham and D. Winters, I think you got to keep them. And I don't see them keeping 6 guys. So out of the other linebackers, can you have any of these guys make the practice squad? So the guys that potentially can make the practice squad, Demetrius Fowles, he's been around. He could be a special teamer. Marcellin McCrary-Ball. Are these guys that you look at and say, you know what, we like them, but we don't like them enough to let our young guys go? So let's release Marcellin McCrary-Ball and Demetrius Fowles. Release both of those guys and then see which guy you might be able to bring back to the practice squad. So maybe it's not both of them, but maybe it's just one of them. And if you have one of them, then essentially you kind of have 6 guys because those guys will be ready to come up. So that would kind of be my thoughts on that situation there. All right, let's talk about the quarterback position, and we'll kind of end with that. And I'll actually put the link in the chat for everybody to come on live right now so we can have that conversation. So go ahead, click the link right there. Boom. All right. So we got the quarterback position. Obviously, Brock Purdy is your starting quarterback. And then you have Trey Lance, you have Sam Darnold. So, and then there's Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen, and I know how he's kind of viewed through the eyes of the 49er fans, is like just kind of like this throwaway guy, but he's been the number 2 in Cincinnati. All right. So I'm not so sure that, you let him go and it's like, oh yeah, he's just for sure going to come back to your practice squad. Imagine that he'd be picked up right away. So if I had to guess, he will be let go. And the 49ers would just go with Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance, or, those 2 guys in some order. Now, I know that what you guys want to know, like the big competition at the QB2 spot. And if I had to guess right now what it just feels like in my heart, all right, what it feels like in my heart, it feels like Sam Darnold is QB2. I don't know why I have that feeling. Maybe just kind of watching them again. It feels like I know more from a play to play or throw to throw basis what I'm getting from Sam Darnold. All right, and I'm not even going off of the past. I know we had that conversation yesterday about the women's past and stuff like that, but I know, we might look at the 55 games and the 90 turnovers like that is terrible. I know, like that's terrible. But just watching him as a 49er, watching the practices, watching the games, watching him as a 49er, when he drops back to throw, I'm just at ease a little bit more than I am with Trey Lance. And I love Trey Lance. I believe in Trey Lance's upside. I believe in his ability. I think that a lot of the issues that he's going through right now are more so because he just needs the reps. He just needs to see it. I think he's seeing a lot of things for the first time. And some of the things might be elementary to a lot of quarterbacks, but for him, it's just not. And you see, like, just, man, his ability to drive the throws, make plays on the move, it's coming together. It is. And I feel like on a team that didn't have these, like, Super Bowl aspirations that the 49ers have, then it's like, oh, yeah, like, go with Trey Lance, because the biggest thing he's missing is experience. Like I talked about, just kind of having that ease with Sam Darnold. Of course, you should feel like that, right? Sam Darnold has started 55 games in the NFL, and I'm not saying like that's all good experience, but that is from the standpoint of like just seeing things, right? Like, I mean, he's out there playing against 2s and 3s and whatnot, and like he should look better than Trey. Like this should be a little bit more natural to him. And with Trey, you should see some of the flashes and a little bit more of the upside things. But I don't think that Kyle cares about that in the sense of his QB2. If I'm a coach and I'm looking at my QB2 spot, it's really not about upside. It's more so about who can execute my offense the way that I want it ran. And when I watch Sam Darnold, it looks a little easier and not as much all over the place as Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance might have higher level throws here and there, but I think in between the high level throws, there's more hit and miss than there is with Sam Darnold. So I understand the pushback on it. I understand that that's not what 49 fans want to hear. I think a lot of us are still, rooting for Trey Lance. Of course I am, but my job isn't to, and when I say my job, like, y'all listening to me isn't to tell y'all what y'all want to hear. It's what y'all need to hear. And what I feel like y'all need to hear is what it feels like is Sam Darnold is QB2. Now, there is a scenario where because of what the 49ers invested in Trey Lance, they name him QB2 regardless, and he's the first guy out there, and they see what it looks like. I could see that. But if I had to guess right now, and I've talked about this, if you give Kyle Shanahan some truth serum and you ask him, Kyle, who's your favorite quarterback on this team? I would not be surprised if he says Sam Darnold. If Kyle Shanahan told us today that he likes Sam more than Brock Purdy, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. When I look at Sam and what he has done with the 49ers, again, I am not talking about the Panthers. I'm not talking about with the Jets, none of that. But just with the 49ers, he's making throws to all levels of the field. He has a bigger arm than Brock Purdy. He moves better than Brock Purdy. He's throwing these drive routes effortlessly. He's seeing the field well. He's doing all those things, and it looks fairly simple. He understands like the blitzes and how to beat them. He's doing those things. I say the biggest knock will probably be the turnovers. And he has thrown 2 picks in preseason. Both have gone off of Ronnie Bell's hands. So if Ronnie Bell catches those, does he have any turnovers? No. Like, I feel like that's the biggest issue with him. And this is a guy that was number 3 overall pick. Like, he's very talented. And I know he's played a lot. So being drafted high doesn't mean that you're just going to be this great guy. But you can see, like, just the natural ability that he has. I feel like that's what I'm seeing. So I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but that's just what it feels like. I could be wrong. We're going to get to some of these things in the chat. First of all, Trey did not play at D2. He didn't play D2. I saw somebody else say he played D3. Here we go. 3 first rounders for a 3-3 bust. You know the interesting thing with Trey Lance and him being labeled a bust? You typically get more than 4 games with a guy before labeling somebody a bust. And for Trey Lance, it's not about, like, if you want to call him a bust, Jim Everett the Great, you can. But I don't think that's what's going on here. It's not even an indictment of Trey Lance. It's an indictment of this situation. Like, who would have thought that a 7th rounder, last pick in the draft, would come in and play as well as he did? So unfortunately for Trey Lance, he's on a team right now that's like, well, we want to go to a Super Bowl. This guy, won, every game that he finished. And like, we have a lot of faith in what he is and what he can do. And that's unfortunate for you, Trey Lance. I don't think that makes Trey Lance a bust. I just think that what Trey Lance needed, he has not been able to get. He can go somewhere else and play very well. And again, D3, D2, he's not D2, he played FCS. And I don't know if y'all have watched college football a whole lot, but college, like FCS, especially North Dakota State, like they are a powerhouse. That ain't D3. That's 1AA. I tell you, like, I played 1AA. I went D2. I played D2. I played against Southern University. We smashed Southern University. They're 1AA. But they're not good. Like, do you know what North Dakota State would have did to us? And I played at a D2. Hell, I played against Valdosta State. Valdosta was the number 4 team in the nation. I had an interception and a forced fumble to close out that game. I should have got Defensive Player of the Week. They didn't give it to me. That's some BS. All right. But Valdosta State, number 4, like, okay, we beat them. North Dakota State would crush us. Trey Lance would have crushed us. Trey Lance would have did whatever he wanted to do with us. Like, and I played D2, and we were, like, decent. So, kind of disrespectful to say, like, oh, D2, D3, all that. He played FCS. Big dogs, national champions. Like, they're the big dogs. And they ain't won since he left. North Dakota State has not won anything since he left. So, I watched my guys from Sac State. They went kind of far last year. They didn't win it, but yeah, kind of the way Trey Lance talked about, it's kind of wild. I don't like, it's kind of weird. Bust, I guess you could say it's a bust in the sense of the situation for the 49ers. And I think at the end of the day, being drafted to the 49ers is probably the worst thing for him. Being drafted to a team that had these super high expectations of, we got to win a Super Bowl and we got to win it right now with a guy that has like the least amount of experience. That's tough. That's tough. All right, here we go. We're going to get in the chat now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure y'all
like and subscribe this video.
All right, all right, all right. So I'm gonna bring on my guy Roscoe's right now, Chris, and Chris had a bone to pick with Shunder Boy. All right, so I'm gonna bring up Chris and Shunder Boy at the same time. That's what we're gonna do here. All right. So Chris, welcome to the show, and Shunder Boy, welcome to the show.
Wait, hold on, Croc, because I have issues of Blue Magic too, and it's
Well, Blue
casual
Magic,
takes.
Blue Magic's not in here.
Let me just say this: Blue Magic said the 49. He said, "Get ready for a down year." This is and he came on your show before and had some casual takes, but based off of what? Get ready for a down year based off of what? Like, is he basing it off of preseason? Because if he's basing it off of preseason, then we don't need fans like him actually watching games because he doesn't know what he's looking at. So I need to understand based off of what? Because I heard him yesterday. He didn't say nothing. So the 49ers will be a 12, 13 win, 12, 11, 12, 13 win team. We are not going to have a down year. And I want you to make sure you have him on the show again when we make the playoffs, because he was very confident. He said we're gonna have a down year, and folks that is tripping off the defense. Can y'all at least like give it 5 games before y'all start crying about the defense? That's all I want to say with the Blue Magic thing. It's casual takes. What's this dude's name right here? Casual.
Shunder Boy.
Oh, shut up, Lord have mercy. Shunner boy, you asked what does Trey Lance do well, right?
No, I said what is special on the field.
Okay, all right, and I'm mad at Croc because Croc didn't.
He does plenty of things well.
No. Croc knows what Trey Lance does well, but Croc allowed you to get away with it. I think one thing that Trey Lance does special, one, drives the ball downfield. His game against the Texans.
Not special.
His game against the Texans. I'm gonna tell you how it's special. His game against the Texans. I think yards per target was like 11, which hasn't been done in the 49ers organization the last 5 or 6 years. We don't have no quarterbacks. We haven't had, still don't have quarterbacks who actually can drive the ball downfield. One, that is a special trait. If you watch the game, this previous game, what was he doing? He was pushing the ball downfield. Another thing he does special is make the throws that Darnold, I think Darnold can do it. Purdy, he can make the throws that Purdy just can't make, which is the difficult throws, the throws that you've seen the throw that you've seen to to Snead in that tight window with the person right on him. That's special. Another throw he did to Bell and what's his name? JT O'Sullivan. He went over that. He talked about how the route was a lose-lose situation. He talked about how he hated the coverage, but he said, look at how Lance is throwing with anticipation and threw it right into a tight window. And he said the receiver has to catch that football. He makes those throws. Purdy listen, we all know, look, I like Purdy. Purdy's one of my favorite players on the team, but at the end of the day, he's not making those throws. You haven't even seen him make those tight window throws, crazy throws like Trey Lance.
Yes, we have.
I think that's a
yes, we have
trait.
multiple times.
No. I think that's a special trait. Matter of fact, Croc, Josh Harper, they both came on the show. I mean, they both had a show. They've come into my spaces. Other people's come into my spaces, and they talked about how Trey Lance, certain throws that Trey Lance is making, Darnold and Purdy just can't make, won't even attempt. So let's not act like Trey Lance doesn't have special traits. I think the arm talent, it is special. Of course, he's got to work on some things, but let's not try to bash the kid, try to say all these wild takes on the kid, okay?
All right. So, a couple things. Number one, that's not special. There's 10 other quarterbacks in the league that can make the same throw. That means he's above average, not special, which is exactly what I said yesterday.
Only
that's
10
first.
quarterbacks can make that throw. That's special.
I let you talk. I let you talk. There's 50 quarterbacks that can make that throw. There's 50. There's a ton of quarterbacks that have a good arm that can make a throw down the field. So that's not a special trait. the ability to change your arm angle, the ability to do that same throw off your back foot, the ability to actually do that throw under pressure with somebody around your legs. That's special. And Trey doesn't do any of those things. He only makes those throws from a clean pocket, first of all. Second of all, let's talk about the throws that Purdy makes consistently that Lance can't make, because Lance can't seem to make a simple screen pass. Okay, Lance can't seem to hit his back foot and hit a guy running across the field in front of him. Oh, I'm yelling, probably.
Real quick, I do want to say, yesterday, Brock Purdy threw a screen pass that got picked off by Drake Jackson. It was a screen that got picked off. But go ahead.
Okay, listen. Okay, so a couple things. Everybody wants to cherry pick one thing here and there instead of actually taking the full thing in context. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy doesn't occasionally throw a bad screen pass. I'm saying that he consistently will change an arm angle. He will consistently throw the ball out in front of a guy when he's out running a screen pass, a slant, and out a dig or whatever. And he also does it with anticipation. Trey Lance, to this point, has not showed the ability to consistently do 90% of what our offense asks. I'm not going to give him a pass because 1 out of 10 throws are a cool throw that 20 other guys can also make in the league. There's nothing special about it.
Okay, you went from 10 to 20. That's the first mistake. The second thing.
Oh, by the way. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
All right.
Second thing. You literally said Brock Purdy. You said Brock Purdy can do all. Listen, bro. I'm gonna tell you this. The throws that Brock
He consistently makes throws Trey Lance can't.
The throws that Brock Purdy makes in his offense, 99% of the quarterbacks in the NFL can make those throws. Look, just listen to what you said.
Then why don't they?
Make these throws.
Then why don't they?
99% of the NFL can make the throws that Brock Purdy makes in his offense. You said only
they don't consistently make them. Why can't they?
Only 10 quarterbacks. Only 10 quarterbacks can make the throws, Trey Lance. I rest my case. I don't even have to say anything.
I said 20 and then I said 50.
We have how many quarterbacks is in the league? About like 60, 70 in the league? Because
right now about 100.
Well, but I'm saying if you count backups, because I won't count like QB3s.
Last year, 64 quarterbacks played. So
yeah. Okay, so let's say about let's just go with 75 quarterbacks, right? Only 10 quarterbacks can make the throw Trey Lance make. We talk about arm angles. Hold on. We talk about arm angles. I could have sworn Trey Lance was able, under pressure, to maneuver the pocket, roll out. Instead of running, he kept his eyes downfield and threw a beautiful pass to Martin that was dropped. I've seen Trey Lance.
You mean when a guy fell down? Because he also got run down by a defensive tackle twice.
He also had another nice throw where he threw it to Latu. Now, maybe an all-pro tight end will make that.
So out of 18 throws, he had 2 good throws?
Some of his best throws weren't even caught. Like, come on, bro.
Same thing happens to Purdy.
No. You said what Trey Lance does special. I think I prove a point that he can make the type of throws that Purdy can't make.
So
there are throws. Listen,
first of all, okay. We got to stop this with that. Purdy can't.
Hold on.
Purdy made a 35-yard pass outside the numbers to Christian McCaffrey down the sideline last year. He made multiple throws over 40 yards last year outside the numbers. He was the number 1 quarterback in the NFL throwing the ball outside. No, he hit Christian McCaffrey on the outside shoulder with somebody draped on him. You're not paying it.
My guy.
Okay. It's getting a little testy in here. We gotta settle down just a bit. I love the passion. From the fan base. Listen, y'all got my wife's dog crying right now. Y'all hear him? You got something to say too? You want to yell at them too? What you got to say? Okay, now he don't want to talk. All right. I'll say this. Look, and I don't think this is anything like news flash or anything like that. I say both of these guys do certain things very well. I don't think that there's anything special about Brock Purdy. I think the thing that's special, here's the thing that's special about Brock Purdy. To come into the situation that he did last year, the offense not miss a beat, move the ball. 49ers were able to score the points that they did. His ability to utilize the weapons and be a facilitator, I think that's amazing. I think he is Rajon Rondo. And, Rajon Rondo on the Boston Celtics. And I think Rajon Rondo was damn good on the Boston. Like, he was really good for the Boston Celtics. Were you ever going to consider Rajon Rondo the best point guard in the league? No. But I think everybody respected and understood what he brought to the table and what he did. And on that team, he fit with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. And then you have him, and like, that's who Brock Purdy is. He is Rajon Rondo. And I think that's good. That is good. All right, like, that's good. Y'all let me know how y'all feel. Now, there are other quarterbacks in the league that are they're just more, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get better results. I watch John Morant. John Morant is better than Rajon Rondo ever was, but is that going to result in wins? Is that going to result in making your teammates better? So Trey Lance can have, higher upside. He can make more special throws, and he can. Just effortless throws, right? Like, I watched Brock Purdy. I was watching him in practice, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, he completes these slants. He does a good job of doing those things. When he tried to do something outside of what his ability is, it looked ugly. One hopping throws, underthrowing goal routes consistently. Some drive throws he might miss. Like, that's not his game, and that's fine. Rajon Rondo couldn't shoot threes. Like, that wasn't Rajon Rondo's game. Rajon, do what you do. Facilitate, work around the basket. He was great around the basket. Cool. Right? Facilitate to KG, Ray Allen, and goddamn Paul Pierce. Cool. You don't gotta be the other guy. So as long as Brock Purdy stays within what he is, he does a terrific job of running this offense very efficiently, and I think Kyle Shanahan really likes that. Loves it. All right. Some of the things that even Sam Darnold and Trey Lance are able to do, just throwing the ball and being consistent at certain things, like, that's not going to be Brock. And that's cool, because Brock can play well within what he does well. So I'm going to bring on the next caller, Gammon. And Gammon, let us know, what'd you feel about that?
I hope that they both call back again sometime and they finish it out, or it gets handled like on Spaces somewhere. But I'm just not that spicy. I just had like a cup of coffee. I'm just not that angry. So I feel like emotionally I'm going to be a little bit of a letdown for everybody. I think it was good, but also too, for anybody who is a podcaster or covers the 49ers, I think this is a microcosm of what you're seeing, like, are internally fans pitted against fans, when really, if I'm being honest, I see very special things about both players. When I was looking at Jimmy Garoppolo, it was about 4 games in to where I started looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and kind of giving him the slant eye, because what I saw from Brock Purdy was that it felt like with Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 out of the 6 times, right, that would be in the red zone, he'd actually punch it in. And that could be statistically wrong. I don't know. But again, it's just what it felt like, what I saw. With Brock Purdy, it seemed like 4 out of the 6 times that we were in the red zone, we'd punch it in, and we were no longer settling for field goals. I don't know why, but it did. I started giving Jimmy Garoppolo the slant eye of going like, man, you've been here all this time. You know all the players. You know the facility. You're comfortable with everything, right, in this environment. And so just whatever that is for him to be able to just not have this team settle with all the talent that's here, not settle for field goals, is just nice. Because with Jimmy Garoppolo, I kind of had the same feeling with Alex Smith of just settling for field goals. And I loved Alex Smith, and I felt so bad when he lost his starting job. But when Colin Kaepernick came in, it just felt like we were just a different type of offensive monster all of a sudden. Also, too, I don't really like comparing Brock and Trey Lance against each other because they don't have a large body of work. But one thing I can say that I love about both of those players when they take the field, whenever it seemed like Jimmy Garoppolo left the pocket and then he was about to make a throw, just because of the limited visibility of what we were seeing, I honestly held my breath and just went, oh, you know what I mean? Because I don't know it probably wasn't going to be a good throw when he left the pocket. What I do like about Brock Purdy and Trey Lance is that when they leave the pocket and then I feel when they let it rip, I feel like good things are going to happen. I really like what Trey Lance is doing this year that I didn't see him do enough last year, which is when he leaves the pocket, he's baiting and he's pulling down either like a safety or a linebacker into him, like sucking him into his space to play him as a runner. And then he's making those nice little dump off passes.
Pause. Sucking him into his space?
Okay. So that I don't know if we can edit that out before it hits like the podcast or anything like that, but I didn't realize that kind of came out that way. But I just honestly, these two guys have such a good relationship with each other. One of the things I watched like a couple days ago was how happy Brock Purdy was when he threw his first touchdown, and the guy who ran out and got it for him was Trey Lance. Like these guys have such a special relationship, and I just feel really good about them. I have been a little worried about Sam Darnold being QB number 2. I have been a little worried about Steve Wilks. I didn't feel scared when Saleh left. And then what's his name took over. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart. But our D'Amico Ryans, I was like, I didn't feel nervous about that. But going from Ryans to Wilks, I felt a little worried. And I kind of talked to, yes. So I agree with Eddie V there on his super chat. He said, in my opinion, scoring red zone touchdowns may be more because of CMC. I agree. But again, I looked at Jimmy Garoppolo with CMC. It just something felt off. And I can't put my finger on that. I don't know. Again, it's all just a small sample size, but he led it efficiently. What I'll say is this. If we have Sam Darnold in all those 7 or 8 games that, we had Brock Purdy in last year, how many of those games do you think that we win? And that's kind of what I'm nervous about with Sam Darnold. It's not just the interceptions. Brock Purdy's going to have a multi-pick interception game. Lance could. I think Darnold could. And certainly Jimmy Garoppolo could. What drove me nuts about Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy wasn't just throwing a 1 or 2 interception game, but they also fumble the ball too. And those are things that you just cannot do. And that's another thing that I think is special about Brock Purdy and Lance is they might throw a pick, but I don't really, they actually protect the football with that. But I am kind of rambling. I did want to kind of bring up, I wanted to ask you a couple questions there, Croc, unless there was something you wanted to jump in there and say. But I wanted to highlight 49ers girl, her post. She's working right now, so shout out to you. But I just wanted to give her credit. But she said Bosa is in New York City today. He posted on his Instagram stories. His agent is in New York City too. And she said that she takes it as a good sign. Going to finalize the deal before heading to the Bay is her assumption. And I was just wondering if you had seen anything like that and what your thoughts on that were, because
49ers ain't letting Bosa go. So, I mean, he's going to be a 49er. So anything that's going on with Bosa and kind of Bosa watch with his contract and stuff like that, like he'd be a 49er. So I don't ever even think anything of it. I don't look into anything that's going on with Nick Bosa. Like week 1, he'll be a 49er. He'll be signed. He'll be under contract long term.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I was kind of thinking. I do have to admit, I didn't think it was going to take this long because, I mean, he just kind of he did what he needed to do to justify having kind of an empty, a blank check kind of written out to him. And then the last question that I have for you, Croc, and then before I head out here is, I really do wish that you were doing the 49ers draft picks in the 3rd round because I trust whoever is picking for the 49ers in the 5th round. But when you look at how many compensatory picks we've had in the 3rd round for the last few years, I just don't feel like we've really gotten enough out of all these compensatory picks. Like it's unreal how many 3rd rounders that we've had. And I feel like because now I'm kind of going like, I feel like after this season, there's a chance that our window could be really closing quickly, all depending on whether Trent Williams wants to retire or not. But when I'm looking at as far as for next year, we're supposed to have like 5 compensatory picks, another 2 third-round compensatory picks because of the Titans GM that we had, Ron Carthon, and then D'Amico Ryans taking over that Texans job. So we'll have like 2 more third-round picks. It just feels like this, if they do this right, this really could extend our window. But before I get out of here, I just want to ask you, like, it's kind of a shame how little, gosh, what am I trying to say? How little we've really gotten back from all the third round picks that we've kind of like drafted and the talent that's been in there. And I just wonder if you feel like if Shanahan doesn't win this year and Lynch, we don't win a championship this year, I'm kind of on board for having Louis Reddick come in next year. I think 7 years is a long time, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it is kind of what it is. Thank you for your time, Croc.
All right, and I'll answer that question too. I say even outside of the misses in the third round, or even if they don't get anything out of Trey Lance, they've done a terrific job of just building a roster around those guys. So overall, they have sucked in the third round. I mean, they did get Fred Warner. They got starts out of Ahkello Witherspoon, but for the most part, they have not done a good job of drafting guys in the third, especially considering the amount of third round picks that they've received. Like, that's crazy. Real quick, I do want to touch on a few things before I get to the next couple callers. Chris, he said, yes, Trey can do special, but Purdy's my QB1. One thing about Chris, he got very passionate up here, but Chris all along has says Brock Purdy is a starting quarterback. He should be the starting quarterback. Like, I think his thing is when people like downplay certain things with Trey Lance, and like that's what he's more so passionate about. But if you ask like Chris, like, hey, who's your starting quarterback? Who should be start? Like, he will tell you Brock Purdy. He'll tell you Brock Purdy. That's for sure. Jesus Torres here. He says, we don't give a F what Kyle Shanahan thinks. He's been wrong for 7 years. I'd be a better QB evaluator. Hey, you might be right. Some people, when it comes to things like that, right? Like, everybody's gonna be, oh man, like, yeah, you think you know more than Kyle or whatever. But I'd say most people, like, for the most part, they can look and see what somebody does good and what somebody does bad, and other guys might be looking for something a little bit more specific. And sometimes your own biases in your brain, like, can kind of get in the way of something that potentially can be good. I'll say that, right? I think that's the case with the fan base, and that's why it's so kind of like split. And people, they'll look at certain things and, well, you don't have to have this because you do this, and I look at this right here from Bobby. He says, Brock is special because he knows how to make the right throws. Who cares about physical traits? He elevates his team. And there were a couple more of those. All right. But here's the thing. It's all fine as long as you don't have to be special. Like, as long as you don't have to make special throws, as long as you don't have to do those things, then it's fine. But the moment you have to, like, it's like, okay, now I can't just, like, at this time, like now I got to do these things and I got to make these special throws and tight window and drive throws, and it gets a little weird. Like, that's when it can affect you. Luckily for Brock and the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, their defense has been terrific. So there's very little pressure. There's been very little pressure in Brock's starts. There hasn't been much pressure on them. When I say pressure, like, just if I make a bad throw, what's the repercussions of it? Like, he hasn't really been in that position. More so than not, it's been like, hey, man, okay, we do a good job. Oh, man, Deebo Samuel, I throw a 10-yard pass to him. He takes it 75 yards to the house. Cool. Defense gets another stop. Cool. Okay. Oh, man, I get the ball to George Kittle. He weaves in and out of traffic. He scores. Defense gets another stop. Defense gets a takeaway. Like, he hasn't had to be special. He just has had to facilitate. And it's tough because with a lot of guys, at some point, the special has to show up. Like, you look at, I hate using him as an example, but like, just because you guys will understand what this looks like, but Patrick Mahomes, Mahomes in the Super Bowl that they just played, we'll go back to the 49ers Super Bowl. Mahomes in the 49ers Super Bowl, he wasn't playing great. He had thrown 2 interceptions. It wasn't, but when that moment came, where it's like now, like I could facilitate, I could do these things. Okay, I got a couple whatever. But now in this moment, I have to be special. In this moment, the traits matter. In this moment, the big arm matters. When he needed it, he came through. When it was 3rd and 15, and he has to throw off his back leg because Nick Bosa and Armstead are bearing down on him, and he has to throw the ball way downfield away from guys and really get it out there. Like in this moment, when I need these traits, when I need to be special in this moment, in the biggest of moments, he was able to do it. And that's the difference. When in last year in the Super Bowl, he threw for 180 yards. But when he needed to be special, I'm about to rip off this 50-yard run. He ripped off like a 40-yard run in the clutch, a 40-yard run. Like, and it might be with my arm, it might be with it, whatever. But when I need to be special, I'm gonna do it. So Brock has been in a great situation for him, where he hasn't had to be the most special, most talented guy. Can you facilitate? Yes, he does it at a high level. He does it at a high level. When the stuff hits the fan, will the special come out? Or will it start to look a little weird? I don't care about I see the interception. I see somebody, Brock, interception rate. Listen, like I just said, Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl. It didn't matter. I can overcome that because I'm special. Because I can do special things that other people just can't. Brett Favre, why was he MVP 3 times in a row or whatever the hell it was? He threw more interceptions than anybody. But it doesn't matter because I can be special. I'm going to make these special throws. Mahomes versus Allen AFC Championship game, they were special. It wasn't the AFC Championship game. It was a divisional round game. And they were both special. They were both special. Like, just, so you don't got to be special. You could be Rajon Rondo. Again, I'll continue to use him. Really good. They ain't asking Rajon Rondo. They weren't asking him, hey, Rajon, I'm going to need you to knock down these 3-pointers. No, bro, that ain't my game. I ain't no special scorer. I could be a legit facilitator, though. I can be that. So when people talk about Trey Lance, his ability, hell, maybe even some Sam Darnold and some of his ability, and then Brock Purdy and maybe some of the things, you can try to downplay it. And listen, I'm as straightforward with a lot of this stuff as anybody, right? You could try to downplay needing special traits because you like Brock Purdy at quarterback, all right? But at some point, that should bite you in the ass. Like, it just will. So you got to hope that he continues to just be an amazing facilitator, which he was really good at that last year. Mahomes dinks and ducks, but when Purdy does, he's Jimmy 2.0. Mahomes dink and dunk because the defenses are playing their 2 high safeties 20 yards down the field. Like, the moment, I don't know if y'all watched the quarterback show, all right, but they had the quarterback show. And he was appalled. Like, he was shocked. The 49ers are playing their safeties tight. What are they doing? I'm finna go up top on them. And what he do? Went up top on them. He threw the pick because he was so shocked that the 49ers safeties were playing tight. Everybody plays him off. Do you know how they play Patrick Mahomes? They gotta play him like that. Because the moment you get your guys tight, he's going up top on you. So his dink and dunks, that's more so a product of the defenses that he's facing, as opposed to what he has to do. Mahomes could do whatever he wants to do. Whatever you give him, he'll take that. You want to play safety tight? You want to play single high? You can't play single high. Because you play single high, he's going to eat that up. And he's going to have all these chunk yardage throws. You got to play too high and keep everything in front of you. But folks can't say Trey can't do special things. I agree. He just has to be more consistent at it. Like he doesn't. He's seeing things that are kind of like I'm not sure, and we can only imagine what it would look like if he got the experience that he needed, and he just hasn't. But yeah, it is kind of wild that people they try to downplay the need to have special because we saw Brock Purdy do some really good things, and it's like no, at some point, like unless you're going to continue to lean on the defense and hopefully the number one defense, and they continue to be that, or hopefully Debo Samuels continues to take screens 20 yards at a time, and then yeah, you're fine. Hopefully that slant that we just saw him throw in the red zone where it's just wide open and he's able to read and it's like boom, I can hit that good. Like hopefully. But the moment stuff gets tight, it can get a little weird. And I hope that's not the case. And who's to say that Brock doesn't get even better? 49ers are going to win a lot of games with him. Are they going to win the game with him? All right, I'm going to bring up Tia Ingram. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I got a good workout in this morning. I got here kind of late though, so I haven't even taken a shower. So, I am kind of not ready for the show to end, but like once it ends, it's like, yeah, I can't wait to take this nice good shower. But yeah, I'm good.
I guess I should have had popped me some popcorn if I knew it was gonna get spicy this morning. But
It got a little spicy, didn't it?
yeah, but I agree with you. I don't think we need to pit them against each other. I do think that Brock does some things that, of course, is more consistent. But at the same time, he did play 4 years as a starter in college, so I'm not surprised that he would come in and he'll be able to grasp it a little bit faster than somebody who only played a year. So look, it's not surprising. But I'm not gonna shit on Trey to prop up Brock or shit on Brock to prop up Trey. To me, that's just stupid. One
Right.
does one thing that's great, and the other one does something that's great too. So
Well, and I'll say this: like anybody that props up anything that Brock Purdy has done, I think they're well within their right. He has done some really good things. He's done some really good things. I mean, like what he's done. First of all, to come in, he's the last pick in the draft, to execute the offense the way that he did, like that was special. Like that was special. That was some really good stuff. So anybody that's excited about that, like I don't, you're not wrong. Like that was terrific.
right. And I agree. But to me, I get what you're saying. I can see Kyle because he just retarded that he want to be Captain Save America, and he just want to save people careers for whatever reason. He got it in his spirit to I want to be the one to rectify Sam Darnold. Okay, cool. But if we in a win situation right now, I'm not picking Sam Darnold as my backup. I'm sorry. I'm just not gonna do it. If you can sit here and you can trust this kicker who done missed kicks in the game, but you say that don't matter because he makes them in practice. But
Right.
you gonna say, well, Trey isn't consistent in the game, but he look good at practice. I need you to figure out which one makes sense. Does it matter in the practice or does it matter in the game? Because
Mm,
to me, if he missing them in the game, that matters more because we need him to make the kicks. Going to the end zone and scoring 6 points don't mean nothing if they beat us by one. Hence the Baltimore Raven game where we lost by one. So
mm,
I need Kyle to make his mind up because if it's a win now situation, you need to have the same energy for every position that's on the team. It shouldn't just be selective when you want it to be. And if you're gonna put Trey as 3, then you need to trade him because having him on the roster just because you just want to keep him there. Let him go somewhere else and develop. If you're not going to take the time to do it now, let him go somewhere else and develop and let him get the time to play. Because what they're doing right now to me is hindering his ability to develop. Everybody keeps saying he needs playing time. He not going to get no playing time if whether Brock do good or not. He got to ride that ship out. You can't pull Brock out. If you calling him the real deal, you better act like he Joe Montana and you better let him play it all the way out throughout the season. Don't pull him because he don't look the same. You got to ride that ship out because you came out, you propped him up, you said he was the person, and you want to ride with. You got to ride with him. But we can't put Sam Darnold in there because that's just to me. I didn't see enough of Sam Darnold. He looked skittish Saturday when that
you
pocket
think
when they
so? You
start.
think he looks skittish?
Yes, when
I
that
didn't think he did.
yes when that pocket started closing in on him, he kind of looked like, oh, okay, should I run? Oh, I think I may run, but I'm not gonna get the first down. I'm just gonna slide. Like what? what are you doing? If you're gonna run, you need to run. Like we need to get the first down. We need you to move the field, like move the team down the field. And out of all the quarterbacks, Brock and Trey, whether it was first, second, third string, moved the ball down the field. Sam
That is
Darnold was
true.
out here. Yeah, he was throwing. Okay, I see some good passes, but I'm gonna need you to get past the 50-yard line.
Mm.
If you not go, what's your purpose? If I don't care if you can throw a good screen and you don't turn the ball over, but if you ain't moving past the 50-yard line, you're not doing nothing for the team because the defense got to come back out on the field.
Yeah, that's
And
real.
Kyle kept him out there because he was like, okay, well, we need you. I'm gonna need you to try to score. Let me help you score. He was really calling plays for him to score. You can tell, like he had some plays, and it was like, okay, well, I guess Trey might not get in here because we got to see if Sam can score. And it's like, okay, then Trey come out there and he moved the ball down the field the first drop. Like, okay, what? It's the same players, a lesser O line, and he moved down the field. Well, what's going on? So if that's what they looking at, then hey, then Kyle got to ride it. We just got to, okay. Now just remember, if it don't work out well, don't come to the presser and have attitude. That's all I'm saying.
I got you, man. T, I appreciate you coming on. And by the way, somebody in the chat said you sound beautiful. So, she got up out of here, so she didn't want to hear none of that. All right, here we go. We got Medic Mike coming on. Medic Mike, man. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Croc?
Oh man, I'm chilling. I'm chilling.
Don't nothing get people spicy like 49 quarterback talk, though.
Oh man, we came on here. We're talking about some roster battles. I actually, nobody say anything about anything I said about Jawan Jennings or Ray McLeod or Danny Gray, and I'm like, oh, Danny Gray. I think he might be a guy who, if all things consider equal with how Vernon Bell has performed, like Danny Gray, he'd be on the way out. Nobody said nothing about that. But man, the moment you mention the quarterbacks, is on and popping.
Hey, I'm here for it. Now, I was glad to see Purdy look like himself week one. I think that was important. I think everyone kind of had that little creeping doubt in the back of their head, like, what's he actually going to look like out there? So it was good to see him get out there and just look like himself. Do you see it as an indictment on Trey and John in that you drafted a quarterback who everyone knew what the game plan was? It was to get him reps. You drafted him based on his traits, based on his intelligence, and that you believed he could develop. And then Kyle develops this, hey, diddle Trey up the middle offense for him instead of running kind of his standard offense. Both times he got hurt, I believe it was coming off 16 plus carry games. So, I mean, people like to say, well, you can't blame Kyle for that. Well, the more chances you take, the higher your risk of injury goes. And so when you try to develop this specialty offense that didn't work, that's a problem. And so, one, I want to see if you think it's an indictment on Trey and John in drafting him and then kind of failing to believe in their own draft pick. It's like you drafted him and then you wanted him to be what Purdy was, a 4-year starter who Purdy does all the accessory things well. He has good game management skills. His clock management skills are good situational awareness. Like he does all those accessory things that a quarterback's supposed to do at a very high level. And I think that's one of the things that makes him very good. Because you don't have to worry about any of that. But drafting a guy 3 overall and then almost not having the confidence to develop him in the same system you've been running, I mean, it almost seems like you wanted to have your cake and eat it too, but that wasn't realistic.
Right. Yeah, no, and because of that, I thought, this year, obviously they went and signed Brandon Allen, but I was like, man, y'all should be looking at Dorian Thompson-Robinson, because he's kind of the best of both worlds in the sense of he's had plenty of playing time. He was damn near a 5-year starter at UCLA. He gives you that athletic ability. He has the arm. He has all these attributes. I thought he would have been somebody terrific to kind of add to that quarterback room and to where you don't have to go and get a Sam Darnold maybe, or if you want Sam, cool, but then you got Trey and then you have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I would have liked that quarterback room and what that might look like, and I think that is more of what they were leaning towards, but I think Trey needed certain things. And when they realized, again, you live and you learn, right? Like even me, a lot of the things that Trey has gone through, I would have never even imagined to think of those things like, oh, well, this guy needs this or this guy needs that. I would have never thought about that. until he's kind of gone through it. Then you start to see like, man, these are things that he just kind of needs to go through. And he's not allowed to do that on the 49ers. And that's a tough spot. So a lot of guys, you can have guys that come in and they sit for a year and the game starts to slow down, and that's fine. And you can do that. Or guys come in, they play right away. That's cool. Trey need to come and play for different reasons than other guys. He just needed all the experiences of what goes into being a quarterback, you know, commanding a huddle, 2-minute drills, you know, how do you react after a loss? How do you, you know, react after throwing an interception? You know, just all the experiences that go into playing the quarterback position that most guys get because they play so long in college. He just didn't get. He didn't lose a game.
Right.
He didn't throw an interception in the as a redshirt freshman. You know, they went undefeated. You know, when the weather was bad, they just ran him a bunch of times. Like all the things that go into playing quarterback, he kind of skipped all those things. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got to come to the NFL and you got to just know these things. It's like, wait, I've never been in these situations. Dang, and the game is moving faster. So that's kind of tough. And obviously, again, I think I don't give front office people more credit than they deserve. I think they're just like you and I. So just like I wasn't thinking about those things, and like to the extent, obviously it's like, hey man, he hasn't played a lot, he hasn't thrown a lot of passes. Like we know that. But all the other things that goes into quarterbacking, we didn't realize like that would be something that he had to go through. And then now once you did it, it's like, man, the kid, he just got to play. But he's not going to get that opportunity on this team because the expectations are just too high. Like those are, he just needs to play. You go to Jacksonville for that. Trevor Lawrence can throw 10 touchdowns and 16 interceptions in the season. Nobody bat an eye. Nobody cared because it doesn't matter. You can't do that for the 49ers. You know what I'm saying?
For that reason, that's one of the biggest reasons there's no way I would have Sam Darnold over Trey. I do. Because if Purdy goes down, do I believe we're going to win the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? Absolutely not. Because of his track record, he stares down his first receiver, and then just like the last caller said, he gets scared. That's when the ghosts come out. After that first receiver ain't open, he looks for his check down, and he gets real skittish. Do I believe we'll win a Super Bowl with him? Absolutely not. So if Brock and I hope he doesn't. I never wish an injury on anybody. But with our injury history, if he does, now you're organically going to get Trey in there. Hopefully you're not running this gimmick offense with him. You have him run the normal offense. And what we've seen from him is higher than every quarterback we have and lower than every quarterback we have. You need to bridge that and just get the consistency so you're getting those highs much more than you're getting the lows. You're naturally going to get that if for some reason he has to come in relief of Brock. Now, done with the quarterback talk, but I want to ask you about someone else who I saw flash last year and I saw flash this year in the preseason. And given the nickel situation, what are your thoughts on Quantrez Knight? Because from what I've seen of him, I like him. He's aggressive. I've seen him with some sticky coverage, and I think he should be a dark horse to make the roster.
Okay, so I don't like talking about something that I haven't watched. I haven't been paying attention to him because I didn't even think about him just like last year, right? Like Brock Purdy. I didn't pay attention to Brock Purdy. And all of a sudden he made the team. I'm like, oh, maybe I should have. Then he played. I'm like, oh, damn, he's hella good. When it comes to Quantrez Knight, I haven't had like these lofty hopes of him making it. And even when I kind of did my 53-man roster where I feel like they're at right now, I didn't have him making it. So, but if you're telling me that he's playing well, I will go and watch and like specifically watch him and see what he's doing or not doing. So be on the lookout for that because that's coming up.
All right, cool. I want to see that because I know he had two huge run stops last game. I was like, this dude's coming up aggressive like a safety. I mean, he didn't miss his tackles like Oliver. I mean, and I love the aggression. I love it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So I'll look into that. I'll try to look into that today. Then I'll get back to you on that.
Appreciate you, Croc.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Medic Mike.
All right, man.
All right, here we go. So I got 3 people waiting backstage right now. Mosquito Killer has been very patient. The other 2, make sure y'all stay there. The other 2, because I'm bringing y'all on together. All right. So, but first we got Mosquito Killer coming in. Appreciate you for being patient. How you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good, man. How you doing, Croc?
I'm chilling. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, all good, man. I didn't mind being patient. It's been fun, man, because it's been spicy. It's been interesting. We got a little pause in there. Poor Gammon.
Yeah, he's saying something about sucking something. I'm like, what?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I caught that. I was like, oh, man, you had me busting up backstage. So, Um, but man, I'm not gonna lie. Like waiting this so long patiently, it's a little bit more difficult now because I think TC really hit on a lot of the points that I was gonna try to make, and then even Magic Mike talking about like Sam Darnold, because you were talking about earlier, and even on Locked On 49ers, like like Sam, I can see him being more number two, and I'm like no, not for me because I look at him. Sam is like, if you see that first read, he gets up there, he sees it, boom, he fires it real quick. He's quick, but once he gets past that first read, man, you can see like his eyes get really wide. He
Yeah.
starts freaking out, and he's like, either if the check down ain't there, that's it, man. That's why he took those 2 sacks this last game too, because that first read wasn't there, and it was like, oh, and he just boom, instantly just claps around him, and he just kind of like just he just crumbled. So like then I think that's why Kyle had to keep giving him another rep, another rep, another rep until he could finally get a touchdown, finally sustain a drive. Where versus like we said, Trey Lance got in there. Yeah, granted the first one, he needs to learn to put a little more loft on those screen pass. He fires a little bit. Kind of reminds me of Kaepernick a little bit, man, a little bit more of that dart
Yeah.
throw and thing. And so once he learns that though, and I know to me that's where Trey Lance's more inconsistency lies is in that short game. But when you get that mid to long game, he's definitely more consistent. As a matter of
I
fact,
feel like with 2 preseason games though, he's been pretty good.
no, he
And I mean,
has.
his biggest issue is maybe not seeing certain things with coverage. But as far as being accurate on the shorter throws through 2 preseason games, I think he's been pretty good. He's been really
Yeah,
good.
honestly, no, you're not right. You're wrong. Because like that's what they were hearing in practice is that he was being inconsistent with throws. But you're right during the
Hold on.
preseason games.
But you know what though? So that wasn't necessarily the issue. Okay. It was kind of exaggerated, in my opinion.
Okay.
He would miss like the short throw, but we're talking about one time of practice, and then they would make a big deal out of that one time that he missed. And because it would be a bad miss, it would be like this guy's wide open and you miss it. But it's not like that's the only time he attempted the short pass. So
Yeah.
let's say out of the practice, he attempted 4 short throws. He'd hit 3, but he might miss 1. And then he'd get killed for missing that 1. Like that was
Yeah.
what I noticed a lot of. So right now we've been seeing him be fairly efficient and accurate throwing those short passes really through 2 games now.
Yeah.
His bigger thing has been more so seeing things from coverage and then being comfortable with pulling the trigger. I think that's been more the issue than not being accurate on throws.
No, I agree with that. As a matter of fact, that if anything, I would love where Trey could actually go to Purdy and learn a lot of. It's probably seeing it because man, Purdy. That if you want to talk about a strength of Purdy, it's seeing like being able to walk up to the line and understanding the coverage and what's
Yeah.
happening and being able to make determination. All right, this guy's going to do this. This linebacker is going to move here. Blah blah blah. So I'm going to draw him with my eyes over here so I can open up this guy over here. Like he's already reading all that stuff as the motions that are happening and everything like that. Brock Purdy is really, really good. And I think that's what's made Brock Purdy the number one is because not only does he make those determinations, but I don't know if you noticed, like Kyle Shanahan has definitely made, like he has a receiver type, yak yard receiver, man, Ronnie Bell, Debo Samuel. He even drafted Jalen Hurd that didn't work out or whatever, George Kittle. I mean, he loves those yak guys. So he's like, look, I'll get you a quarterback that can make these quick intermediate throws, and then I'm just gonna allow the receiver to do what they need to do afterwards, and then
Yeah.
or whatever. Versus, like I think Trey Lance can be a little more special in the sense of like he'll throw the ball where he'd be able to hit somebody a little bit deeper and maybe make that contested type throw catch with the wide receivers duo. But yeah, Purdy. Trey Lance just needs to get with Purdy, man, and really learn those concepts. Like if he could do that, I think Trey Lance would be absolutely phenomenal.
I think Trey knows it, but when you're doing it live and it's kind of and things are moving and they're moving pieces, I think it just takes him just seeing it more.
Mhm.
And that's the part right there where he's lacking. Just seeing more of it, which again, we talk about Purdy. He saw this stuff for 3+ years in college, right?
Yeah.
Trey is still learning to kind of see different things, and then that transition to the NFL. So he went from like level 2 to level 10, where Purdy even playing in the Big 12, he might have been at level 6 and then went to level 10, but he had that 4-level head start on Lance. So that jump wasn't as drastic. But I appreciate you coming on, Mosquito Kill. I'm gonna get to the next
no
caller.
problem, man. All right.
All right. Here we go. Next caller, we got Blue Magic. Roscoe's came in here. He act like he had some smoke for you, but when I said I was gonna bring him both on, he disappeared. I don't know if Roscoe's still listening, if he's still watching, but he had some smoke for you, but he disappeared. So I don't know. But you go ahead. Go ahead. You got it.
Man, you know I've been watching the Niners since the 80s. So here's the thing, right? Kyle is great. He's not a genius. Kyle schemes for a game. His script is amazing. He will scheme you open. Kyle's problem is he won't change. Kyle does not adjust. And we get so caught up the same way we did with Jimmy. We get so caught up in being trash for so long that when we got this little success, we don't want to let it go because we remember the Jim Tom Sulas, we remember the Chip Kellys, we remember the Brian Hoyers. But honestly, in this day and age, in order to win a Super Bowl, you don't have to have an elite quarterback, but you have to have a quarterback that plays at an elite level when it's time. And I don't blame Brock. I never liked Jimmy, but I don't blame Jimmy either because Kyle has a specific system. Just like the last caller said, his system is dependent on quick outs and yak yardage. You can control a clock for as long as you want, but once you go up against a Patrick Mahomes, once you go up against a Josh Allen, once you go up against a Joe Burrows, they don't need that type of time. That's one of the things that made Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady great. You get them boys 2 minutes, and it's a slim to none chance that they losing.
Right.
Brock, like the last caller said, Brock processes at the line very well. Very well. And here's another thing. This is what we got to stop doing. Stop putting one quarterback down to make your point about the quarterback you root for.
I like that.
We Niners fans at the end of the day. Like at the end of it all, no matter who we put out there, we should be behind. We were behind Jimmy for how long? Come on. And we knew Jimmy wasn't it. Kyle knew Jimmy wasn't it.
I think I will say this, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know for me, a lot of it is trying to figure out like everybody's all in on Purdy after 7 games. And like that, if you are like, that's great. For me, that's still a very small sample size. Like I still need for me to be all in like Kyle is, I gotta see more. Right, like I have to see him, the different adversities that he has to go through. I gotta see how people, do they start to adjust to, how he sees the field and the defenses. And like once I see those things, so it takes a while. So with Jimmy, even after the first 5 games, obviously I was really excited. And then when you come back and it starts to look weird in the first 3 games before his injury, I'm like, damn. Now I learned my lesson after that, where it's like, I'm gonna hold off and wait and see, how this guy progresses. So even with Brock, man, I mean, I think he did a terrific job last year, and I said that was special. I'll still wait before I crown him.
To come in and nobody believed in you, you were the last pick in the draft. To come in unprepared, you didn't even know. Like, it was no way for him to know he's getting in no game, so forth and so on. And here's another thing, fans, we beat over Trey and Brock, and Trey helped Brock learn the system.
Yeah.
Them boys got each other back, and here we are fighting against each other in the chats and all that. Stop letting someone's narrative that fits what you want to hear delude your perception. Just because you point out the fact that Trey misses easy reads, or what we consider easy reads, because there is no easy read when you are when you don't understand what it takes to be a professional at that level.
Right.
Let's not get on Brock for his arm, because number one, Kyle doesn't scheme up plays to go field like that. So it's not Brock's fault that he's not throwing down the field like we want him to. It's Kyle. Our fan base we've gotten so toxic, and this culture that Kyle and John have put in place, they got us looking like the Dallas Cowboys. Come on, we're a win-now team, but we get excited when we get to the NFC Championship and lose. We've come complacent with mediocrity, and this is not the Niners that I grew up knowing, that I grew up rooting for. I grew up rooting for champions. I grew up watching Rice, Montana, Roger Craig. Like I'm legit here. We listen to these hot takes, and we know even if you don't like Trey, there is no way that you can honestly sit and listen to people like Shady McCoy, who I used to really respect, and say that he does not belong in the league.
All right, well, Mr. Blue Magic, we have a special guest.
Bring him on. Bring him on. You know I'm here.
All right, here we go. So it's finna get a little. We gonna see. So Chris has some things that he wanted to talk to you about a little bit. So go ahead.
First off, people said things are getting spicy. It wasn't spicy. It was. I mean, we were loud, but we were just having a conversation. But I just want everybody to know what I said about Brock Purdy not being special doesn't mean I didn't think he was QB1. He's QB1. Like, he is QB1. I just think you can't try to bash the kid Trey Lance saying he doesn't do certain things that's special. And then, I mean, again, I caught the dude because, I mean, he said only 10 quarterbacks can make the throw. If only 10 quarterbacks in the NFL of 32 starters and 32 backups only 10 can make that throw, therefore
that's
special. But for you, Blue Magic, you went on Croc Show yesterday and you said everybody get ready for a down year.
I believe it.
So,
give me your points on why you disagree.
Well, no, I want to know. First off, I want to know, why do you think the Niners will have a down year? Then I'll tell you why I disagree.
All right. So number one is quarterback. We have an easy little script for Brock, but he's coming off a major injury. He's coming into a year where defenses have had time to look at his tape and start to study his tendencies. We're also a very slow starting team every year. Brock has yet to play through adversity. He's been on a roll. Our defense has given him great field position. CMC has been like, if Debo was a cheat code, then CMC is the game genie. Kyle in big moments down the stretch, and I put up some stats about Brock Purdy. Brock for as well as he played, if you look at his numbers going late into the game, they actually dip. His best numbers are in the beginning of the game, first quarter to the middle of the second. In the third, it kind of evens out. In the fourth, it dips down lower. So I believe if we get into too tough of games, then those dropped interceptions could become a problem. I'm not worried about the ones in camp because we don't know. The same thing with Larry saying Brock is the only one pushing it down the field. Practice is where you work on not your strengths. Your strengths is already there. You work on your weaknesses, which is why Trey is working on the short game and Brock is working on the long game. And this schedule, this strength of schedule, and this travel is going to kill us. We are on the East Coast a whole lot. So that in between travel and those games where we don't have no real rest, that's why I believe it.
All right. As far as the Brock Purdy numbers, the reason why Brock Purdy numbers usually dip is because, I mean, if you look, we pretty much blew out every team besides Seattle that he played, and then besides the Cowboys. Other than that, we've blown out every team. So his numbers will dip because we're going to run the ball more. Second of all, the East Coast.
When I meant his numbers dipping, I meant his completion rate and his QBR as well. Not just from a pure production standpoint, but an accuracy standpoint as well.
Yeah,
not,
but I mean that
not going to be efficient. Like his efficiency drops. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but it's really a moot point because I mean we literally blown out everybody. Now I mean we had to rate.
No, hold on. It's a moot point because it hasn't had to be like we haven't had to lean on it. So like that's what Mr. Blue Magic saying.
Exactly.
Like, he basically saying like man, there's been a dip in his efficiency the more a game goes on. But like you're saying, like you're right in the sense of last year, that wasn't something that would bite the 49ers in the ass because they were the way they were beating teams. Do you think that if there is a dip, if that continues, right? If that trend continues, and the 49ers defense isn't number one, isn't forcing the most takeaways in the league, will that be something that could potentially hurt the Niners? Or could there be a slight drop off?
Croc, let me jump in real quick to address Terror Dome. He says, see, it's stuff like this. The man gave you 33 points. Let's kill that narrative. Because if you go and you look back, when the team started getting rolling, the team scored 30 plus points, multiple occasions with Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's when we got CMC. So, and if you go to Jesse's page and go to his Twitter, he also put up the same stats that I put up. When you take the 5 full games that Jimmy played with CMC, and you take the 5 full games that Brock Purdy played with CMC, Jimmy's numbers is actually better. CMC is the deciding factor. And we had a top 5 defense, actually a number 1 overall defense. So I get it. Yes, Brock came and he runs the offense. He runs the offense better than Jimmy. I'm not saying that Jimmy is better than Brock. But in this system, Jimmy had his best statistical year with us once he played those full 5 games with CMC. So the narrative that it is Brock that's scoring 33 points a game is a false narrative. Don't let the numbers fool you. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't, but numbers can be manipulated.
True. Let me just say this. When trailing, Croc, stop that. When trailing, Brock completed 63% of his passes, had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In the second half, his numbers was 60. He completed 65% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with 100 QB rating. Yeah. So, anyways,
okay. So let's say, like, okay, yeah, I hear those numbers. Is that a drop off from what he would do in the first half?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. In the first half, he was 68. He completed 68% of. He completed 68% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So 68 to 65%. I mean, if you want to call it a major drop off, then I guess. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's a. I mean, I don't even think that's just a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, he's guessing. He thinks that the Niners, won't make the playoff based off of his numbers.
I never said we won't make the playoffs.
Oh, you said get ready. So what is a down year to you?
A down year is, I honestly believe that we're going to be a wild card team.
Bro, we were a wild card. Technically, we were a wild card team last year. I mean, we were not technically. We were a wild card team last year.
So what is a down year to you? Less than
Exactly.
10 wins?
Wait, less than 10 wins? No, I see us 10-7. I mean 10-6.
10-7. So you think? Well, okay. I mean,
Probably the extra year.
I'm
What I'm saying is, as opposed to seeing, analysts and content creators have us at 12, 11, 13 wins. I don't see that. And I don't see us. I don't care what quarterback is starting in January. We cannot win the Super Bowl this year.
I don't come off the. I would not come off the bat and just say, yeah, we're not going to win a Super Bowl. It's easy for you to do it because the odds are pretty tough. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to win a Super Bowl in the NFL, but it's easy for you to say that. But to me, that lacks faith. And I'm a faithful, so I believe in our team. I believe that we have the playmakers to do it, and I believe we can win the Super Bowl because I'm a 49er faithful, and I have faith. So you can say that, but why even watch the season if you don't even think we're gonna win the Super Bowl? We're
because I'm not going to be delusional.
That's not believing. Hold on, believing we can win the Super Bowl. Believing we can win a Super Bowl with the roster we got when we have all pros in the secondary, all pros in a linebacker, all pros in a defensive line, all pros on the offensive line, all pro running back, all pro receiver. To believe that we don't have a chance to win a Super Bowl, or to say somebody's delusional because we believe we can win a Super Bowl, that's kind of crazy to me. And to win 10 games.
I respect that, but let's go through the teams that won the last 7 Super Bowls. Look at those.
So last year the Chiefs won.
Look at those.
Okay, last year
Patrick Mahomes and one ankle.
Yeah, yes, Patrick
Mahomes is the GOAT.
Yes,
that boy is the love child. Brady and Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. Even when Nick Foles won, Nick Foles had a Hall of Fame performance. Joe Flacco put one of the best wins to the Super Bowl and to win the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying.
But they're not elite. Those quarterbacks you just named is not elite.
If you remember what I said,
you just killed your own point.
I did, because if you remember,
hold on. They gave Nick Foles a chance to start.
Don't have having a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Have a quarterback that plays elite.
So Brock Purdy put up 4 touchdowns in a playoff game. Should have been 5. He can have his moments. But if we win it, if we win a Super Bowl, it's going to be because of the talent around Brock Purdy. It's because the Deebo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuks, did I say his name right, Croc? Brandon Ayuk, the Christian McCaffreys, and this amazing defense. At the end of the day, we can't even say we don't know if Brock Purdy can win a Super Bowl, because guess what happened last year? He got hurt. He never had the chance to prove it. But so far in 2 playoff games, since Kaepernick, which he has some amazing playoff performances, that was the first time we had a quarterback that actually played good in a playoff game and was the reason we actually won. We've been going through the playoffs playing with somebody who's just there to sit down and be carried. We actually have somebody doing the job. So far we have Brock Purdy has not been able to prove what he can do as far as playing in the bigger games. So we have to wait on that. But to say that to say that we're going to have a down year, if we still make the playoffs, for me, that's fine. 10 wins, 7 losses, that's hard to find 7 losses on the schedule. I think we do play tougher teams, but some of the toughest teams we play is at home. We play the Cowboys at home. I think we play the Bengals at home, right? We play the Bengals at home.
Yeah.
Do we play the Ravens at home? I think we play the Ravens at home, right?
No, we play.
I got the schedule in front of me. Yeah, we got the Ravens at home. So our toughest,
or vice versa.
Hold on, our toughest East Coast games would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'll be there and we will win. The Browns,
I mean, yeah, that's a toss up. I mean, that's it. And
All right,
the Commanders, Eagles.
we gonna continue this. We're gonna continue this conversation tomorrow. All right, we're gonna come back. We'll continue this
What's
tomorrow.
tomorrow?
So,
Tomorrow's Wednesday. All right, yeah, we'll
yeah.
finish.
So, Mr.
All
Blue
right.
Magic, Roscoe, man, I appreciate y'all coming on, and I like the way the tone didn't get too high pitched. So I think that was good.
Well, the other dude is super loud, so it's different.
Oh,
Shout
nah,
out to Blue Magic.
I got stuff in the background, and I got, you know what I mean. So pardon me. I'll have that straight.
No, you're good. We're talking about earlier.
Yeah, we talked about earlier. Yeah, you did.
you're
That.
good.
Shout out to you, man.
Here's the thing, and these are the type of things that we should be doing: listening to points, taking in what the person says, and then countering. I can agree to disagree, and sometimes I might hear something that I thought was one way, and I might be able to see it in a different light. And instead of us, cursing each other out and becoming children, these are the type of back and forths trying to get the other point of view. So I swear, I love the fact that you said, you know what, before I go into what I'm going to say, let me hear why you believe X, Y, and Z. I definitely appreciate that. And that's the type of conversations and how our conversing should go.
Yeah,
Yes,
shout out to you, Black Blue Magic. Have a good one.
All right. Shout out to both of those guys. That was a good, nice little conversation. Let's get to some of these super chats here. All right, we got Fish and Chips. He says, Lynch and Lil Shanny want you chatting crap about QBs. So I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Kyle sits there like, how can I get the fans to talk about the quarterbacks today? I think he just kind of does what he wants to do, and then, all right, whenever he feels like pivoting, he'll pivot. It keeps the attention off of their weakness. Ooh, okay. So those kind of go together. All right. So he likes us talking about it because it keeps the attention off of the weakness. Now, I will say this between the weaknesses and the failures of the 49ers, and I'm not happy about this, but he does have, he's having postseason success. It's just getting over that hump. And that could be tough. Only one team wins it every year. All right. But we do know, or at least most of us feel like the 49ers would be in contention for that. At least I feel like 49ers have a chance to win it all this year. All right, here we go. We got Derek in the chat. He says, Croc, this is how you know some of the fans don't know football when they try to compare Brock Dink and Dunk to Mahomes. Yeah. I bring up Mahomes because it's very clear y'all know what that looks like. But I could bring up Mahomes. I could bring up what Josh Allen does or doesn't do, or Joe Burrow. What's that starting to look like? And I like to use examples of what people have if I throw that name out there, y'all know exactly what that sounds like. Y'all know exactly what that looks like. So it's easy to kind of use those names, not as a measuring stick, but just in the sense of an example. But yeah, people that you can't compare the two. And I've seen people do it on social media, and I don't engage in it. I think it's wild. I have seen people, they're comparing Brock to Mahomes, and don't do that. Don't do that. All right, Chris. This was Chris letting us know he was there. All right. Terry Domes, he started to throw the stats out there. Terry Dome came through again, and he says, there's a man that thinks he can. Hold on. There's a man that thinks he can. There is. Oh, okay. I think it's supposed to be like a period, huh? There's a man that thinks he can't both. Terry Dome, what the hell are you talking about? Hold on. Man that thinks he can't do both. Right. Which one are you saying? Terry Dome, you're gonna have to elaborate on that one. But I do appreciate the contribution. All right. We're not winning the ball, and I'm part of the faithful. Listen, I think that it's tough. Every year is tough. The 49ers have a chance. Here's the toughest thing that the 49ers have to go up against. The AFC, whoever comes out of the AFC, at some point in a game, and it might not be for an entire game, but you'll have to outduel whatever that other quarterback is able to give you. So unless you're going to lean on the defense, you're going to need your quarterback to do things that the other quarterback either isn't doing or can't do. And that will be the toughest part with the 49ers. But they can't win it. Like if they have a terrific defense, you got the terrific run game. We've seen what Christian McCaffrey's done. That they can score points. Like I don't see those things changing. So I think the 49ers definitely can win it. Now, will they? I don't know. That's tough. But can they? I definitely think they can. All right. And last but not least, we got Mama Crocky in here. Love you, Mom. Appreciate you. I see you showing your son some support. And everybody else, y'all show some support too. And the best way to do that is
Like and subscribe.
yeah. All right. But you know what, man? That is going to do it for this episode of the Eric Crocker Show. Appreciate everybody that came in today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. There will also be an audio version of this. So the link should be in the description. If you want to hear the audio version of it, you want to go back, maybe you missed something. I'll cut some of these up, cut into the segments, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Same place, same time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Until then, I'm out. Peace.